My husband's intern sent a bathtub selfie during our daughter's graduation. Last night was the real celebration, Daddy. I passed my phone to his mother mid-speech. Her face turned pale as she stood up and said, "This is who you really are?" Days later, his department was reorganized, and he came home with an empty box. My name's Noelle. I'm 46, and for more than 2 decades, I was a wife, a mother, a homemaker, a part-time volunteer, and the woman who always remembered the dry cleaning. I live in Charleston, South Carolina, where the houses are pastel-colored and the smiles are polite. Where people pretend not to see what's really going on behind closed doors. And for years, I did the same. My husband, Wesley, was the golden boy of his company, one of those mid-level corporate execs who used phrases like synergy and streamlining. He managed people, budgets, and, as it turns out, his own secrets. We met in college. He was pre-law, I was majoring in English Lit. He was always the smooth talker, buttoned up, calculated, a man with a 5-year plan. He proposed during a summer trip to Asheville and made sure my parents knew before I even said yes. For years, we were that couple. Picture perfect. Matching Christmas pajamas. Family photos framed in expensive wood. We weren't exciting, but we were stable. And I thought that mattered more. We had one daughter, Kaya. Smart, kind, fiercely independent. She was the best of both of us, with none of Wesley's coldness. Kaya grew up, worked her ass off, and got into Duke. She wanted to be an attorney, and I never doubted she'd get there. Her graduation was coming up, and I was counting down the days. It felt like a milestone not just for her, but for me too. Like I had done something right. And then, 6 months before that day, I started to notice the cracks. Wesley was working late more. Not unusual at first, he always had high-pressure projects, especially during quarterly reviews. But then it became every night. And weekends. He stopped letting his phone out of his sight. I caught him texting in the bathroom with the door locked, something he never did before. I even saw him smiling at his phone once, and when I asked what it was, he said, "Just a meme from Brian in HR." Brian doesn't send memes. But I let it go. I told myself I was paranoid. That after 23 years, things get routine. I mean, we weren't exactly lighting the bedroom on fire. Still, we were comfortable, right? Then came the firm's summer party. That's where I met her. Zaria. She was 23, maybe 24. Just finished at Clemson. Blonde hair so bleached it looked white in the sun, nails the kind of pink you only see on Barbie dolls. She was introduced as Wesley's intern. Intern. Of course. She said, "Oh my God, you're Kaya's mom. You look so young." In that overdone way that makes you feel like you're already dead. She clung to Wesley's side the whole time, laughing at jokes he doesn't even tell at home. When she got tipsy, she called him Wes. I'd never heard anyone call him that. Not even his sister. I didn't say anything. I'm from the South. We don't do confrontations at parties. We store things in the fridge until they rot. But after that day, the pieces started falling into place faster than I could pretend not to see. One morning, I borrowed Wesley's car to run errands. The passenger seat was moved back, way back, like someone with legs for days had been there. There was a lipstick-stained coffee cup in the cup holder. Not my shade. I said nothing. 2 weeks later, Kaya texted me at midnight. "Dad hasn't responded to my message. He okay?" I checked our bedroom. He wasn't there. I texted him, no answer. He came in at 2:11 a.m. smelling like soap and hotel shampoo. I asked, "Late meeting?" He said, "Yeah. Client from Raleigh. Couldn't reschedule." I knew he was lying. But again, silence. Because what do you do? Blow up your life 6 months before your daughter's graduation? I couldn't. I just couldn't. But the universe doesn't wait for your timing. And that brings us to Kaya's graduation. It was a beautiful May day. Bright, blue sky. The kind where even the humidity takes a break. We got up early, had coffee on the hotel balcony. Wesley was quiet. Polished. Smiling like nothing was wrong. Judith, his mother, flew in from Atlanta to be there. She's always been old school, Southern charm with a backbone of steel. She adored Kaya. She tolerated Wesley. We never talked about his father, who left when he was young. We sat together in the third row. Kaya looked stunning in her cap and gown, beaming like the sun. I felt so proud, I thought I'd cry before the ceremony even started. Midway through the speeches, my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, I was trying to be present. But I glanced down just to check. And there it was. A photo. Zarya. In a bathtub. Hair slicked back. Holding a champagne glass. Nothing but bubbles and skin. The caption? Last night was the real celebration, Daddy face blowing a kiss, my blood turned cold. I stared at it. My hand shook. For a second, I thought maybe I was hallucinating. But no, the name was there. Her number. Her smirking face. I didn't look at Wesley. I didn't say a word. I just passed the phone to Judith. Slowly. She looked down. Her eyes scanned the screen. Then she inhaled sharply. Her lips parted. She didn't whisper. She didn't wait. She stood up, right in the middle of the speech, and said, loud enough for 2 rows to hear, "This is who you really are?" People turned. Wesley's head snapped toward her. Then to me. Then to the phone. Kaya didn't notice, thank God. She was on stage, looking out at the crowd, searching for us. Judith walked out. Just walked out. Didn't say another word. Wesley sat frozen. He didn't clap anymore. I didn't cry. Not then. I felt hollow. I smiled and waved at Kaya when she saw us. I pretended. I clapped when she got her diploma. I smiled for photos. But inside? Something had snapped. I knew the marriage was over. But I also knew I would not be the one carrying the shame. Not this time. The rest of that day, I moved like a ghost through water. Wesley didn't speak. Not on the walk back to the car. Not in the elevator. Not even when Kaya ran up and hugged us both, laughing, crying, full of energy. I kept smiling for her. She had no idea. She was radiant. Joyful. And I wasn't going to be the one to shatter that moment. In every photo, I smiled. I put my arm around Wesley. I smiled with my teeth. I looked like someone living a completely different story. It was surreal. Judith never came to dinner that night. Kaya asked where she was. Wesley said she wasn't feeling well. I said she probably needed rest after the heat. Kaya accepted that, because why wouldn't she? She ordered champagne. We toasted. She thanked us both for always supporting her. I excused myself after dessert. Went back to the hotel. Took off the makeup. Let my face be real again. Stared in the mirror and didn't recognize who I was anymore. When Wesley came in, late and quiet, I was already lying in bed with my back to him. He got in, didn't touch me. Just laid there. Like we were strangers forced to share space. The next morning, Kaya left for a weekend trip with her friends before heading home. I hugged her tighter than I had in years. I didn't want her to go, even though I knew she needed that time. And then it was just us. Me and Wesley. In the hotel room. Sunlight trying to make everything look okay. He poured coffee and stood across from me. "Are you going to say something?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. Then, "How long?" He didn't even lie. "Since February." "Does she know you're married?" He hesitated. She knew. But she didn't care. That was the moment I knew I was dealing with someone I no longer respected. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the vacancy. The complete detachment. Like he had reduced everything, our life, our family, our marriage, into a disposable product he no longer needed. She's 23, Wesley, I said quietly. She still eats ramen out of the pot. He actually tried to defend it. It didn't mean anything. It was stupid. I didn't think it would go this far. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because men always say that. I didn't think it would go this far. As if cheating has a speed limit and he just forgot to tap the brakes. I stood up, packed my things in silence, and walked out. We drove separately back to Charleston. That silence between us lasted for days. Judith called me 2 nights later. She didn't sound angry. She sounded tired. I saw the whole thing coming, she said. I just didn't want to believe it. I asked her why she stood up. Why she didn't just say something privately. Because shame only works when it's quiet, she said. And he needed to feel it. Wesley started working from home a lot more after that. He claimed the office was going through a restructure. That some of the C-suite was pushing new leadership models. I stayed out of it. Then, one Monday, he came home early. I was pruning the azaleas in the backyard. He walked through the back gate holding a cardboard box. I didn't even ask. I knew. He dropped it on the patio table. Slumped into a chair. They let me go, he said. Officially it was downsizing. I didn't react. I just wiped dirt off my gloves and sat down across from him. There was a framed photo of Kaya from 3rd grade sticking out the top of the box. I remember taking that picture. She was missing a front tooth and holding a science fair ribbon. How much did she know? I asked, not even needing to specify. Too much, he said. Enough that they didn't want to be dragged into anything messy. Apparently, Zaria had a habit of documenting everything. Photos. Messages. Voicemails. She bragged about dating the boss to some friends. One of those friends knew someone in HR. It snowballed. By the time it hit the higher-ups, Wesley had become a liability. He wanted sympathy. I could see it on his face, that wounded boy look he used when he didn't get his way. I just looked at the box. At everything he'd lost in a single decision. And I felt nothing. That night, I made dinner. Not for him, for me. He tried to join. I told him to eat whatever he wanted, but I was done pretending. He slept on the couch. I started sleeping with the door locked. Kaya came home a week later. We didn't tell her everything, just enough. Things are changing. Your dad's not working there anymore. We're figuring things out. She didn't press. But I could tell she was reading between every line. She was always smart like that. Then came the talk. The real one. I sat across from Wesley one Sunday morning. Kaya had gone to brunch with friends. The house was quiet. I want a divorce, I said. His face twitched, just a little. Like he thought maybe I wouldn't actually say it out loud. I figured, he said. I deserve that. No protest. No begging. Just a man too tired to argue. I didn't feel victorious. Just clear. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. I wanted a life where I didn't have to perform stability for the sake of appearances. I started making lists. Finances. Property. Legal paperwork. I called an attorney Judith recommended. Wesley moved into a condo downtown. Furnished. Short-term lease. He didn't take much with him. A few clothes. His computer. That same photo of Kaya from 3rd grade. We barely spoke for a while. Everything went through email. And yet, it wasn't over. Not really. Because the echoes of 23 years don't disappear in a month. Or even 6. Every time I walked through the house, I saw pieces of our life, a life that had once felt so solid, so permanent, now feeling like a stage set after the show had ended. After Wesley moved out, the house felt enormous. Not because he took much with him, he didn't, but because of what was left behind. His slippers still under the bed. His cologne clinging to the towel rack. The silence where his keys used to jingle in the dish by the door. And not once did I cry. Grief didn't come in the way people expect. There was no breakdown over wine. No sad music montage. It came more like dust. Settling in places I didn't think to look. I filled the days with motion. I repainted the bedroom. Swapped out the bedspread. Removed the framed wedding photo from the hallway, not out of anger, but out of necessity. I wasn't that woman anymore. That girl in the white dress, looking up at him like he was everything. Kaya noticed. She came home one evening from her internship and asked, "Is it weird that I don't feel shocked about all this?" I asked her what she meant. "I guess I always kind of knew," she said, softly. "Not the affair part. Just that you were holding things together alone." That stuck with me. Holding things together alone. It sounded like a badge I didn't know I was wearing. She didn't ask for details. She didn't want them. But she started checking in more. Leaving little notes on the fridge. Calling me queen in that joking way, just to make me laugh. One evening we made dinner together, salmon, asparagus, lemon potatoes. She set the table, poured 2 glasses of wine, and said, "To starting over." I toasted back, but part of me felt guilty. Because I was free, yes, but I was also deeply, painfully aware that this freedom had come with a cost she didn't ask for. The first time Wesley tried to call her, she let it go to voicemail. She listened, quietly. Then deleted it. Did he say anything worth hearing? I asked. She shook her head. He said he missed me. That he made mistakes. But it felt more like, he was just lonely. Loneliness was something I understood. But not like that. Wesley's loneliness was the kind that came from consequence. Mine was different. Mine was a quiet room after years of noise, finally still. Weeks turned into months. Word got out about Wesley. Charleston's business world is smaller than people think. Everyone knows someone who knows someone. I ran into one of the other wives at Whole Foods, Meredith, whose husband worked in legal at the same firm. She leaned in, whispered, "I'm sorry about everything. Heard about the intern." It was humiliating, but also oddly freeing. I didn't have to pretend anymore. No more keeping up appearances. No more defending someone who wasn't defending me. Zaria, the intern, had apparently tried to apply at another firm in the city. Rumor was she listed executive relationship management on her resume. Someone caught wind. It didn't go well. Her Instagram reappeared for a while, then vanished again. The last photo she posted was a blurry pic of a cocktail with the caption, "You live and learn." Mostly learn. Whatever that meant. Wesley tried to text me once. "Do you think Kaya will ever forgive me?" I didn't reply. Because I didn't know. Forgiveness isn't guaranteed just because time passes. And Wesley never really tried. He never once looked at the wreckage he left behind and asked how to clean it up. He just moved through it, like a man who lost his keys and assumed someone else would find them. In the fall, Kaya started law school. I helped her move into her new apartment, 2 bedrooms, lots of light, cheap IKEA furniture that we built together over Thai food and boxed wine. That night, she hugged me and said, "You seem lighter, Mom." And I realized I was. Not healed. Not whole. But lighter. And that mattered. The following week, I went to a garden party with some old friends, women I'd drifted from during the marriage, mostly because keeping up with the demands of being Wesley's wife required selective socializing. They hugged me. Poured wine. Talked about old memories like no time had passed. You always had the best laugh, one of them said. We missed that. I didn't realize I'd stopped laughing. I didn't realize how small I'd made myself to fit into that marriage. Not until I started expanding again. I didn't plan on hearing from Wesley again after that text. But a few weeks after Kaya's move-in, a thick manila envelope arrived at my door. No return address. Just my name written in his handwriting, sharp, slanted, familiar. Inside, a letter. 5 pages, front and back. Folded like something from a schoolboy's locker. Like a teenager confessing to something he finally couldn't carry anymore. I didn't read it right away. I let it sit on the dining table for 2 days. Every time I passed it, I glanced. Every time I picked it up, I put it right back down. When I finally opened it, I made tea. I sat in the breakfast nook. It was raining, Charleston rain, soft and endless, and something about that made it feel like the right time. The letter wasn't what I expected. No excuses. No pleas. Just reflection. He wrote about how lost he felt after Kaya left for college. About how work gave him a sense of relevance that home no longer did. He wrote that he didn't recognize himself in the mirror anymore. That Zaria made him feel noticed. He admitted to the affair in detail, things I didn't need to know, but that confirmed the timeline I'd already suspected. Hotel rooms. Late-night drives. Deleted messages. A life that ran parallel to ours. He ended with this: I ruined the best thing I ever had because I couldn't sit with my own discomfort. I kept needing noise, validation, praise, and when you stopped clapping, I looked for someone else who would. I know now that you weren't the problem. You were the one holding everything up. I was the one standing on top, thinking I built the foundation. I folded it carefully. I didn't cry. That letter wasn't for me. It was for him. His penance. His purge. I didn't reply. Because by that point, I'd realized that closure isn't something anyone can give you. It's something you take for yourself when you're ready to stop waiting for someone else to understand. Kaya came home for a weekend not long after. We were in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for soup. It was quiet, comfortable. Then she asked, casually, "Dad emailed me." I stopped chopping, but I didn't say anything. I just waited. He said he's in therapy. That he wants to start over. Whatever that means. I asked her how she felt about it. I don't know, she said. I miss who he was when I was little. I don't miss who he became. That hit me. Because that's exactly how I felt too. I think he wants to be forgiven so he doesn't have to carry guilt, she added. But I'm still carrying it. So that's not really fair, is it? I shook my head. It's not. She put the knife down and turned to me. Do you hate him? It took me longer than I thought to answer. Not because I didn't know, but because I wanted to say it right. No, I said. I hate what he did. I hate who I had to become to survive it. But hate him? No. That would mean I still care. Kaya nodded slowly, then picked the knee back up and started chopping again. And just like that, the moment passed. That's the thing about healing. It's not always a big dramatic scene. Sometimes, it's just making soup with your daughter while saying something out loud for the first time. As the divorce moved along, I started to discover parts of myself I hadn't touched in years. I took a ceramics class on Tuesdays. Started walking the bridge in the mornings with a woman named Sherry I met through the alumni network. We talked about books, our adult kids, men who got away, and men we let go. I realized I'd spent years narrowing my world down to fit someone else's ambition. And now? Now I was choosing how to expand again. Even the house felt different. I replaced the old dining room chairs with mismatched antiques from the flea market. I painted the guest room sage green. I turned Wesley's former office into a reading room with a plush armchair I'd always wanted but never bought because he thought it clashed with the decor. Funny how you start to reclaim space once you realize it was never really yours. Judith, his mother, called me regularly. She never once asked me to take him back. In fact, she made it a point to say she admired me for leaving. Women in my generation were trained to endure, she told me one afternoon. We were told staying meant strength. But strength isn't staying. Strength is knowing when to go. Sometimes she came over and we drank iced tea on the porch like nothing had ever gone wrong. She still called me family. That mattered more than I expected it to. Wesley had reached out to her too, apparently. Apologized for embarrassing her. Too little, too late, she said. You don't apologize after the house burns down. You apologize when you're holding the match. And then, as if life was waiting for the right moment, an unexpected invitation came. Kaya was selected for a competitive legal fellowship. Big deal. Fancy event. Formal dinner. The kind of thing both parents are usually invited to. She called me, nervous. They sent invites to both of you. I didn't know what to do. I told her, you don't have to choose. If he shows up, I'll be civil. This is your moment. Not ours. She sounded relieved, but also worried. What if it's weird? I said, then we smile and nod and keep the focus where it belongs, on you. That night, I put on a navy gown I'd been saving. Judith came over to help zip it up. She teared up when she saw me. You don't look like someone who was left, she said. You look like someone who walked away and found herself. I didn't say anything, but I felt it. Deep in my chest. Kaya looked stunning that night, a vision in emerald green. When she spoke on stage, she made everyone laugh, then cry. Her professors praised her poise, her clarity, her moral compass. I was sitting at a round table in the back when Wesley arrived. Late. Alone. He wore a dark suit and the same apologetic face I'd seen in that letter. He spotted me. I nodded once. That was it. No drama. No scene. We shared a child, not a future. We applauded her together. We clapped at the right moments. We took a group photo where he stood 3 people away from me. Kaya pulled me aside after and whispered, "Thank you." And I just hugged her. Because this wasn't about me. This was about making space for her to thrive without dragging our mess behind her. No dramatic scenes. No more letters. Just silence. Wesley went back to being a man in the periphery, someone whose name came up in conversations the way you talk about a former neighbor. He was still around, technically, but no one really noticed anymore. The divorce was finalized that winter. Clean split. I kept the house. Kaya's college fund was already secure, something I had handled years ago, independent of Wesley's erratic investments. The lawyers made it clear, his indiscretion and the fallout at work made it much easier for me to walk away with what I needed. He didn't fight it. I think he was too embarrassed, too drained, or maybe just too resigned. After signing the last of the documents, my attorney leaned in and said, "You handled this with more class than most people could have managed. Just so you know." I didn't respond. Just nodded. I was too tired for pride, but I appreciated it. Quiet victories are still victories. And then, right when I thought the chapter was done, Zaria reappeared. Not in person. Online. Someone sent Kaya a screenshot from a private Facebook group. It was a thread of complaints about toxic exes, and Zaria had posted something that caught our attention: "Be careful who you get involved with at work. Some men will promise you the world and then let you take the fall when it all burns down." Lost my job, my references, and basically my career because I thought I was special to someone who didn't even protect me. No names, of course. But everyone who knew anything, knew everything. She'd become a cautionary tale, not the glamorous affair girl, but the naive intern who got used and dumped. The final twist came 6 months later. I had just started working part-time at a local nonprofit, helping women transition out of difficult marriages, rebuild their finances, find housing. It was work that gave me purpose. Real purpose. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was helping others do the same. One Thursday morning, the director forwarded me a new volunteer application to review. I opened the file. There it was. Zaria Langford. I blinked. Thought maybe it was a mistake. But no, same age, same school, same awkwardly padded resume. And in the "Why do you want to volunteer here" section, she had written, "I want to help women like me, who learned the hard way that believing in the wrong man can ruin everything." I sat with that for a minute. She wasn't asking for pity. She was asking for purpose. And even though part of me wanted to laugh at the irony, she wanted to help the same kind of women whose lives she once helped destroy, I also saw the small, sharp beauty in it. Growth, even when it's late, is still growth. I approved her application. Not out of grace. Not out of forgiveness. But because I didn't need to hold power over her anymore. I had already won. Wesley, on the other hand, was still trying to climb out of the pit he dug. He started working at a much smaller firm, not in management, not in finance. Compliance. The corporate equivalent of detention hall. Kaya met him for coffee once. She told me afterward. He looked tired. Like a man whose life got smaller and smaller and he still hasn't figured out why. I asked her if she planned to see him again. Maybe, she said. But not until I stop feeling like I'm just trying to make him feel better. Fair enough. And here's the thing about revenge. The best kind? The kind that doesn't need to scream. It doesn't need to burn things down. It just waits. It lets time do what it always does, reveal character. Wesley lost his reputation. His career. His family. His place at the table. I didn't take those things from him. He gave them away, one small choice at a time. And me? I started traveling again. I visited Maine in the spring, where the air smelled like salt and possibility. I walked through lavender fields in the Carolinas, barefoot, free. I had wine with strangers and laughed the kind of laugh that doesn't feel borrowed or forced. I took photos of myself. Real ones. No filters. No angles. Just me. I stopped looking like a woman left behind. I started looking like a woman who left. And that's the difference.